Uh, how does it keep getting hotter? Oh well, I guess I could just watch a relaxing little episode of Precure to calm the nerves. Huh? It's a plot-relevant episode? Okay, bring it on! With the addition of Rue and Emu's secondary crystals, the Precure's Mirai crystal count was up to 10. A little fact that Kurayasu was actually happy to hear, because this was all according to plan. Play the clip. More importantly than overused memes, they finally changed the opening to reflect the addition of the Six Rangers. And as almost always is the case, their addition into the opening kind of feels like an afterthought. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like what they added in, but you think they'd at least include them in this last shot before the goddess appears. Still, at least they fixed up the Kurayasu shot by removing all of the downsized employees and replacing them with some new villains, including two who will debut in this episode, Jealous and her manservants. Huh, they actually are going to become characters in the show. After the opening, we see that two more Mirai crystals have further helped with Hagutan's development, but for Harry, things aren't exactly progressing the way he was expecting. Homari took notice of this, but no time for that as Emu as usual was breaking something. Also, I need a gif of Ruru constantly eating the popcorn, like now. The next day at school, talk about the Precure was spreading, and amongst the boys who were talking about which one of them was their waifu. What losers. One boy answered with yells, saying that he admired how brave she was facing down bigger opponents. And for some reason, this triggers a flashback to a very lonely looking Hana. Huh, I was joking about her hair looking emo back in episode 1, but was that actually the case? After school, Hana again runs into the mystery poet, and yes, I've known his first name for a while now, but let's save that for later. She shows him her very model class drawings about what she dreams of becoming in the future. In exchange, he shares his future dreams, his being to create an ideal paradise where nothing bad ever happens. Yeah, that always sounds like the words of somebody who's on the up and up, especially in anime. And of course, just as soon as the rain lets up, he's gone.
So that's what that feels like.
Meanwhile, Kurayasu, all of Daigon's talk about ending things with the Precure within 5 minutes finally catches up with him, and he's sent onto the battlefield. By the way, Daigon is supposed to sound like Dankai or Baby Boomers, the generation he represents at Kurayasu. For Japan, that was from 1947 to 49, hence why he's visibly the oldest member of the board of directors, and keeps behind the whole back in my day shtick. Anyway, forced to put his money where his mouth is, he tries to find what's likely his first victim of the week ever. He spots a girl generating an acceptable amount of toge power because her phone wasn't working right. You know what, Daigon? Go ahead and ruin this girl's day. It'll be beneficial for everyone in the end. Okay, throughout the series, this dude's been mostly just an annoying old fart, but just that, he's automatically earned 1,000,000 points in my book. Oh man. Oh man, I'm looking forward to this next arc where we get to see this guy every week. So yeah, this guy named Dr. Trauma pulls an Akuma from Street Fighter 2 and takes out our lovable little monkey dancer. Saya tries her best to revive the fallen enemy, but he's too far gone. And if coming off as a creepy old dude wasn't enough, the jerk hijacks Daigon's Oshimaida. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, since he didn't actually have a lot of token power to work with, Daigon ended up with a weaker looking Oshimaida. Still, at least he looks better than the Whole Girls mid-season boss. And he looks even stronger after the doctor uses some magic to roid him up into a super form called the Mole Shimaida. This even more depressed monster of the week is shown to be a dominating force despite this episode's lower animation quality. At the same time, the mystery man finally reveals his true identity, and to absolutely no one's surprise, he was President George Kurai. Seriously, he's voiced by Nagato. He pretty much gave away the fact that he was villain with just his first words. Anyway, he takes this opportunity to steal all the Mirai crystals. Hagata was an Ultraman this whole time? And before anyone can even say Zawado, he freezes time across the entire planet. Yeah, kind of goes without saying, but I think the best way to describe the scene is this. Yet, for whatever reason, Hagatan remains unaffected, confusing Georgie Boy. He tries to take a closer look at her, while the infant tries calling out for her friends and receives no answer. That is, until she starts calling Hana her mama. This triggers a memory within the frozen Hana. Apparently, back at her previous middle school, she tried to defend a girl who was being bullied by some bigger boys. Now, in most kids shows, this would have led to the heroine saving the day, cake and ice cream for everyone. But for Hana, reality decided not to be so kind that day. While we don't see what exactly happens, we can infer that it led to her being ostracized by everyone in her class, prompting her transfer to a different school. Understandably, this made her question her whole worldview. What's the point in helping others if that's just going to lead to your own suffering? Yet, just when she was at her lowest, her mother managed to comfort her and tell her she did the right thing. Thus, just like her own mother, Hana wasn't going to sit back and let Hagatan suffer. Impressed by her feat, Kurai disengaged the spell, likely planning to change up his tactics.
Doctor,
oh come on dude, you're just setting up your guy for defeat. And sure enough, with a little boost from their Mirai crystals, they actually managed to break the super form, allowing the 6 Rangers to deliver the final blow, mostly just to help sell their guitars. Yet, during the battle, the good doctor seemed to recognize Harry. Well, I'm sure nothing will come of this. Back at Kurai's HQ, George decided to put on a rather gaudy looking outfit for someone of his age. Meanwhile, they still released the other new villain being introduced in this episode, Bishin. We then cut back to Harry looking at a Mirai crystal he brought with him from his world, trying to figure out what to do next. This leaves him open to some shipping between himself and Homare. Is it bad to say I kind of think these two are cute together? Thus, the episode ends with the Precure raising their spirits for whatever may come next. For instance, a new ending theme, which, while I personally prefer the first one's more dynamic choreography, I'll fully admit it's an absolute earworm. Oh boy, did a lot happen in just this one episode. It was just full of twists and turns, but I think most of them did hit. The twist of Daigon's sudden departure was handled well. I did not see that coming, and yet in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense, especially when you take his catchphrase into consideration. And yet, it truly is a tragedy to lose such an incredible dancer. Still, that does paint Cryosu as a truly ruthless organization, and with more villains coming in, the conflict with them seems to be building up quite nicely. All that said though, there were still some significant misses. Aside from everyone and their uncle seeing the Georgie Boy twist miles away, that's honestly kind of irrelevant, Hana just breaking out of Zawaldo was more than a little out of nowhere. I did like what they added to her character, but the act itself does feel like the kind of comeback you save for like the third act after the protagonist has done some serious level grinding. I don't know, it just feels like they're blowing their load a tad bit too early, but again, I like what they brought up here. The idea that heroism doesn't always work out for the savior is something I wish more kid shows would address. Bullying especially is a good example of this, as such usually doesn't just go away and in fact may escalate most of the time. I hope this flashback gets brought up again, and perhaps even brings Hana's moralities into question. Add in some intriguing little subplots here and there, and I'd say you've shaken up the status quo pretty well. This series still hasn't completely recovered from the pitfalls of the 6 Rangers arc, but I'd say they're on the road to recovery. There might be a slight delay with the Smile Precure review, as I've had to live at relatives while they've been fixing the AC in my apartment. Good thing Precure is on the weekends, right? Still, the script is half done, so I should be able to make a lot of progress just as soon as everything's patched up here. I'll keep you guys updated, and until then, I'll farewell for now, my friends, and... You know what? In Daigon's memory, I think we should all do just that.